Welcome back to the Four Podmen, the wrestling podcast we bring you each and every week on Dynamos Dozen. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Joining me tonight to celebrate 20 years of Randall Keith Orton in wrestling and WWE, Ian the Dynamo Kelly from the Chelsea Roar and Dynamos Dozen. How are we, Ian?
Well, we're on Dynamos Dozen, and the Four Podmen is finally back on, I suppose, a platform that it should be on, under Dynamos Dozen, with its rightful host, I might add, you, the shopkeeper, Niall Hogan. So.
Also joining me from Retrotainment and Retrotainment Recast, Ted. How are we, Ted?
Not too bad, lads. Looking back on 20 years of Orton, you couldn't be upset with that.
Good to have Ted on as well, wearing that awesome shirt, which he also bought me, one of them as well, for my birthday about 2 years ago now, Ted, during the pandemic, wasn't it?
I don't know, either one or two. Yeah, I can't remember.
One or two, yeah. Beautiful shirt. The Martha Hart Foundation shirt. All the proceeds went to Pro Wrestling Tees, which we're not sponsored by, but we just thought it's a good organization, so why not add it in?
I would hope all the proceeds didn't go to Pro Wrestling Tees. Just putting that out there.
No, it went to the Martha Hart.
Absolutely. But listen, it's wrestling royalty there. When you have an Orton wallpaper in the background and you have an Owen Hart t-shirt on, we know we're going to have a good night.
All good in my book.
Kick us off. Where do we start? Randy Orton.
I suppose you have to start. Do you start at OVW?
100%.
No. Yeah, because he wears the Pantera t-shirts coming out and comes out to becoming what a man.
I think it's he got into OVW, and I think he got in there at the right time is the thing. If he'd come into OVW 3 or 4 years later, we might never have got Randy Orton as we got him. He got in there with Batista, Cena, Lesnar, Shelton Benjamin. What a class that was.
Yeah, certainly a royalty class, wasn't it? When you have those guys, you're talking about John Cena, Batista, Shelton Benjamin, Brock Lesnar.
Yeah,
serious
class
there,
wasn't it? That was a mental class.
They absolutely knocked it out of the park. There is our fourth man. Welcome back. It's been a moment. The road dog himself, Jay. How are we, Jay?
Yeah, listen, what's the year between friends, huh? Are you well, man?
Not too bad at all. We've just kicked off there, so Ted has been having a quick chat about OVW and where Randy started out, and the class he was involved in was absolute royalty at the time. They knocked it out of the park. Each and every one of them very successful in their wrestling career.
Well, to be fair, let's rewind it a little bit. Orton knocked it out of the park, and Lesnar did. Batista and Cena not so much in OVW.
I don't know. There's five bank accounts there that would say that they all knocked it out.
No, but that's what I'm saying. But back in those days, I'm saying they weren't all knocking it out of the park. Bar, say, fucking him and Benjamin.
You weren't a fan of Deacon Batista, no?
Oh, Jesus.
Massive fan.
I'll tell you who's a fan of Deacon Batista. Fucking Devon Dudley was, because he made a killing. Apparently, Batista was making people put money in there, and Devon Dudley was putting that in his pocket when he was going home. What a fucking hero!
And who would take that from him?
Yeah.
No one. John Cena rocking that good vanilla ice flat top and everything and all. It was all good.
Those beautiful biker shorts, the old generic fucking eBay / high spots biker shorts that you could buy with the white strip down, still the Trill Boyd design. Beautiful.
It's amazing when you look back at that class. Shelton Benjamin's basically the only guy who kind of hasn't changed. He basically looks the same as he was down there. So
and he's still broke.
Also, the only one who didn't get the headline.
Yeah.
Anyway, where do we go from this? Orton comes in, then he goes up onto the main roster, and he's kind of off and running with Evolution.
Remember his debut, man. His debut, remember when he came down with those kind of almost knockoff 3 Adidas yellow stripes down on the blue pleather. Sure, and he had the long kind of just wetted kind of hair. Looks like the hairdo all the young lads have nowadays. But man, he was phenomenal from the get-go. You just saw something in him.
He was a lot better than the gear he wore.
Oh, good Lord. Niall, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I thought the debut was a good one to kind of put in
absolutely.
good. I remember that straight away, and I looked at him and went, "Yep, he's a guy. He's a guy."
Jay, give us your thoughts. Evolution.
We all know what it was. It was a rebirth of a cloning of a previous yet seminal grouping of men in professional wrestling. Almost, I can't. The name is lost on me at the moment currently.
Yeah.
But they were again in the early stages of H's kind of almost seen where he wanted to bring his step up in the business and wanted to bring a few men with him, and he had the beef, he had the legacy, he had himself, and he had the young upstart who he seen something in. And was he wrong?
Yeah.
Remember the video package where like you'd see all the boys, like all the different like clips, and you'd see like Orton just kissing the face off girls. Yeah, these are real shots from real moments. And it's like he's the guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
The last time there was that many 3-piece suits seen in a grouping of men was at an award ceremony, so to speak. I like the way they walked around with a little doff of nostalgia on the shoulder. Like again, 3 of them didn't belong in 3-piece suits, and one of them was born in one. Woo!
Absolutely. Ted, of course, we remember that moment where he was propelled into the world championship situation and he got the thumbs down.
Thumbs down. Yeah, it's a very strange one because they kind of pulled the trigger early on him there, which, is a complaint that people have a lot now, that we don't get that. We don't get the trigger pulled early enough on people and they wait too long. And I think this kind of shows why it doesn't get pulled that early on a lot of people. Like one of the few that they were able to skyrocket like that was Brock Lesnar. It did work for him, but I think Orton needed that, that turn from Triple H and Batista, because I don't think he would have had a good run that time. I don't think he was ready to be the top guy when they first gave him that strap.
Yeah.
He was better chasing it and chasing Triple H and trying to get his retribution on them.
Too skilled to be forgot, but too young to be trusted.
Yeah, it's fair to say during that time, that initial early run, he was, I suppose we'd be kind in saying he was a tad bit out of control. just a tad.
When you think about it, right? Look, this is only rumor and innuendo. I've matured a lot since the last 4 Podmen days. This is under the Dynamos dozen. Forget about Dynamo Podcast Network. This is just my.
Jay, I reckon he's lying. He's wearing that Ric Flair t-shirt, but he just had the camera up higher. What do you reckon?
What you talking about?
Listen, I would gladly wear a Ric Flair t-shirt all day long.
Shades of young Randy Orton around the Dynamo.
Jay, since you've known me, has there ever been not?
Hey, listen, be who you're going to be. If you want to sell yourself, believe in yourself.
I've always been that guy. No, but I think like when you look at that SummerSlam match, for example, just using that as an example because I wrote a few notes down here. Like I mean, he went in with Benoit there, and he was obviously the one to take it from Benoit after Benoit got his moment at Mania. He wore those orange shorts, looked like an absolute star. And a hell of a match, by the way. I don't know whether you guys have watched it recently enough or not. I kind of always try and go back and watch a couple of matches just to kind of get the narrative, clear in my head. And
Excuse me.
Man, good Lord, he matched Benoit. Not many men matched Benoit. He matched Benoit. A guy that was much bigger, obviously in height and
confidence.
Yeah, and confidence. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, Jesus Christ, he did not look out of place in that match. And I think, Noel, you made a really good. The reason I brought this match in is I think because it tells the story of when eventually, the turn happens in Evolution. And I think that really did. I agree with everything you guys just said there. That was really what made him create character, because he was never a great promo at the start. Now he's a great promo. But it took him a long time to be a great promo. And I think, I mean, we look at Orton's 20 years, and obviously we're gonna go further now and go, he became better, and he was always known as a heel. He's a heel guy. You know what I mean? He's the antagonist to John Cena. You know what I mean? He's the natural antagonist to John Cena. But my God, when you look back at the early days, it's like everything he done from day one, he's taken into, year 20.
Yeah.
What a talent.
And can you think of another time as well in the history of this business? We've watched so many careers develop. He's arguably one of the first one who was thrown in wet behind the ears from a legacy. Like his father was no slouch when it came to work or promo. We've watched Randy grow to be the consummate professional.
Yeah.
Now, from he's almost the dregs of the last generation simply because of whose son he is and the business he grew up in from when he was this size, even if he wasn't in front of anybody, or it's inevitable he would follow his father's footsteps. But I'm struggling to think of another grappler who we've seen grow and develop from.
There is none, Jay. There is none.
Now, I can't. We watch his life unfold in front of us.
Do you know what it's like? It's like the Truman Show. It's like that movie, The Truman Show. Yeah.
And most men would sink or swim. And it's a sink or swim situation. Most men would collapse under that pressure. And look, he's had his troubles, he's had his bad times, and he's had his good times as well. He's a loose cannon, to say.
He is, but I think
he's matured now, hasn't he, Ted?
Yes,
he has.
Yes,
but I think in his early career, he got quite lucky in who he was booked with and against and things like that. Obviously, Evolution. You've got.
I think that was an accident, though.
You've got the tutelage of Flair there, and like whether people like him or not, you've got Triple H there who knows the business as good as anyone.
Yeah.
They gave him the Legend Killer gimmick, which left him there working with Mick Foley.
Not many men get to spit on Harley Race and walk away without no broken nose.
Well, I'm sure there wasn't. I'm sure there was a few slaps given backstage after that, but
No.
he got to work with Mick Foley and stuff as well, and it was a very different type of match, so it wasn't just your regular one-on-one contest. You had to take into the hardcore. You had to learn every element of pro wrestling. They gave him them, then they gave him the Undertaker, all of that. It put big names beside him, let him pick up a name, build a name for himself before he even got that chance to win the world title. So he had matured a lot even in those few years in Evolution. Yes. And then, I still think it was too early for him to win the title, but they rectified it very quickly. And I think that did wonders for him. Like letting him be the one chasing it was brilliant for him.
Yeah, I suppose when you look at that Legend Killer gimmick, which was absolutely brilliant, and it's only a guy like him whose father has that respect in the business and stuff like that, who could really kind of pull it off, isn't it? Like, because who else could you really put that on? And he really that Legend Killer gimmick, he absolutely knocked it out of the park. The amount of guys he notched off,
he got to call in favors from men who wouldn't do favors for anybody else because of who.
Here's a question I had for you boys. Actually, I wrote down one. When have you seen? Right, I mean, there's been lots of second generation, third generation stars, obviously, but have you ever? But like people that a lot of people wouldn't have seen. For example, Bret Hart's a perfect example. Second generation star, but like not a lot of people would have seen Stu Hart wrestle. You know what I mean? Or say the Guerreros, for example. Eddie
His
Guerrero.
father was globally televised.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whereas Bob Orton was actually someone that not me, but I got to see it. But like a lot of people that were older than us even got to see live and in color. Niall and Jay, you probably did.
Yeah.
So, like,
segue, by the way, and forgive me, but anybody out there who hasn't watched Cowboy Bob Orton's friendship with Roddy Piper, just go watch the segments, the promos. It was the buddy cop movie the world deserved in pro wrestling. Their chemistry together was fucking sublime. But forgive me.
Walking down the street and all, like those little vignettes, pre WrestleMania 1, walking down little side alleys and stuff like that.
2 years in an arm cast. Do you know what I mean? I feel like it's getting better. Yeah.
They also
Commitment.
they also brought the dad in at times, didn't they, into some of these feuds and stuff like that. Like
In the he was in that Legend Killer.
Yeah,
one
he
for
was
a while as
involved.
well.
He was involved in the Undertaker feud as well, wasn't
Until the HIV kicked in. Yeah.
Which I think is the
Hell in
one he
Cell.
actually, I think that's the one he lost, isn't it? That's when the Legend Killer gimmick kind of died, is after the Undertaker. And
Well, they got
fair
rid of
enough.
him because of the blood thing.
The
Remember?
hepatitis. It was
The
hepatitis.
No, I know that, but like the actual Legend Killer gimmick died with Undertaker. You know, like he beat every legend he was up against until he got to the Undertaker, which was perfectly fair because Undertaker obviously a legend,
the story
but
arc
still an
hit a
active.
peak.
Yeah, it hit its peak, and it was like, right, time to move on from this gimmick. Like,
I wonder. I
forever.
wonder, was the Undertaker feud a way of trying to get him back on the straight and narrow, where he was kind of a little bit out of control? Maybe they turned around and said, if we put him in a program here with Taker, he's unlikely to go off the rails because he'd be in Taker's
Now you're in with the
corner.
locker room leader, son.
Well, the thing was, right? I mean, as Ireland's own Damien Corvin can attest to, he will happily throw slaps in your face. You know that, Noel. You know that story.
Yeah.
This guy wasn't just some jabroni. Like, he was the proper Orton. Like, he would beat the shit out of people. I mean, this guy was a champion boxer in the army. Yeah. I know he was dishonorably discharged, but this guy is as legitimate tough as any of them. You know, take away maybe Brock Lesnar, but after that, I mean, this guy could hurt anyone he wanted to, and knew it. You know,
hey, look, the man weekly still gets to call whoever the fuck he wants out on Twitter, and the boss doesn't say stop your social media interaction. He's just like,
yeah,
you want to talk fake? Come on, son, I'll show you how fake it is.
Yeah, I mean, the guy is a legitimate badass. I mean, like, when you grow up, you know, I know a thing or two about this. Jay knows this. When you grow up idolizing Phil Anselmo, you're gonna have a bit of an attitude. it's
walk the walk, baby. If you're gonna talk the talk, you better walk that walk.
It's a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah. So then,
for all you Pantera fans out there.
Then 2006, 2007, we moved on to Rated RKO, which we had a little bit of a reincarnation of it not so long ago as well. But
how good was that, Noel? Actually, just for you, in terms of, I thought that feud was one of the feuds that got us through wrestling pandemic. No.
Yeah, it did. Do you know what it was? I think it was, I suppose it was the whole idea of Edge coming back and the romance of it and stuff like that. That here's a guy who was done, the neck was done, got sorted out, came back. And of course, they put him with Randy, and then it all kind of went a bit skew-ways. It was billed as the greatest match ever type of thing. And then
they promoted that, yeah.
And then Edge obviously got injured and had to go off again. And I think it was a tricep tear or something like
that.
Yeah. Something like that.
It was done wrong as well. Like, they had the WrestleMania match, which was this big hardcore, you know, anything goes match. And then the next match is a singles match. And you're like, well, hang on. You don't go from that to that. It's
cart before the horse.
Opposite.
Reverse that, and then you have your blow off match at the end. But I liked the idea of the feud. You know, Orton calling out.
I wonder, was the concern, Ted, when Edge came back, was he ready? Not was he ready, but would the universe receive him back in to be able to take off where you kind of left off? That type of thing, I think. So matching him with Orton made it very relevant and very big box office.
Yes.
Oh no, but having him with Orton was fine. It's just the type of match was the wrong way around. And I think what they feared was, is he ready to do 30 or 40 minutes in ring technical stuff? And they were like, it's a lot easier in certain ways to do a hardcore match where you're, you know, fighting through, well, what would have been the crowd. There was no crowd, obviously, but you know, you're fighting through the arena, because you can just walk off for a little bit and stuff. So it's easier in certain ways. There is different difficulties in a match like that, but it's certainly a bit easier on.
He also came back in super shape. He came back in physically better shape than he'd ever been in the company previous at his age. But I think it's almost a testament to Orton as well.
But Rated RKO were just, as a team as well, back in 06, 07, they were amazing. Like, you know, two young upstarts, and they really got in the face of absolutely everyone.
Yeah.
And they, like, you know, believable as well.
Reincarnation of the Rockers almost.
Sort of, except less.
I remember when it happened first, I absolutely hated it, because being a traditionalist tag team guy as well, I like guys in the same ring gear. I'd like guys to have a unique entrance and stuff like that. And when they put two superstars together like that, and they still come out as their own individual stick, kind of with a DJ mix to it. I go, that's an easy way out. But
that's probably our age showing, in
up.
fairness.
It could be my age showing as well.
No,
but
it's our age. I'm with you. I like.
Well, I'm also with you. I'm an Orient Express guy.
No, I'd agree as well. I'd agree. If you're going to tag team, I'm not saying the first week you have to have your music put together, but if you think you're going to be tag team champions, put a bit of work in, like go and get matching gear, do all that. But you know, it worked for them too. You know, two people that were both like too arrogant, kind of to not be the stars. They both still insisted on no, my music still needs to be played. Hang on, lads, I'm not coming out to your shit. Yeah. I think it worked for them in that sense.
It probably worked with the way the storyline in the end went.
Yeah.
Initially, it didn't because they were very cozy together. And it just didn't seem to, you know, just say, you know, when they come out in Edge's music kit and then it'd break into Orton's music. And it wasn't EJ, you're a DJ. It wasn't even mixed right. They started one, stopped it, and played the other straight in. It was real sellotape. It was real old school, lazy DJing more than anything, you know what I mean? So it just never sat with me, you know what I mean? Because I just think, I always think of tag teams, you know, the Road Warriors, the Legion of Doom, and, you know, even to the modern day FTR and all, you know what I mean? They come out, they're in ring gear, Tully and Arn, you know, and these guys came out and they're going, this is just two singles guys. They don't know what the hell to do with at the moment. They're bored pushing them in whatever shape, form, fashion, and carrying SmackDown. And they've just butchered them together, and it's just pure laziness. And
I think it probably was, but I think they always knew, you know, like these boys are not going to be, they're not a long-term tag team. We've got two superstars here and we don't have anything for the moment. So we're not going to invest, you know, all this effort into this. Like we can just play off the fact that they're both full of themselves. Like they're friends, but they're also like, I'm still not coming out to your music. Like I still want my own entrance music to be played.
And
you know they're going to as well. They know they're going to split because you've got two world champions there. They were never going to be kept as a, you know, together as a unit. Like you're not going to see 10 years at a fucking rated RKO as a tag team. You know, you'd have lost two huge stars. Wasn't worth it.
I wonder, do most tag teams start out like that, Ted, though? I don't know whether Animal and Hawk ever thought they'd be down the road 30, 40 years together.
Well, like the Dudleys
whatever it was, you know what I mean?
I know the Blade Runners didn't.
Like the likes of the Dudleys and stuff were happy to go in and come in as a tag team and, you know, make
they were lifers. Yeah, they were dedicated LOD boys. Like so
FTR would be quite similar and stuff. You know,
we've definitely talked about Edge long enough because I'm pretty sure 20 years of Randy Orton, his career was not defined by a fucking tag team. So let's move on.
Well, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on a little bit now to a man who's very relevant at the moment, and move on to legacy with Ted DiBiase Jr., Cody Rhodes, and Randy Orton taking these boys under his wing. That was an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the idea of evolution again, wasn't it? Like, let's build evolution, but you know.
I don't know if you boys seen Raw the other night where they were doing the sort of stick on Orton in the ring, and Cody comes out and you get the big hug, and I'm thinking that was a period in the career where Bodie is probably want to forget. Like, it wouldn't have been even, recognized.
I don't know, but they work like clockwork.
Yeah, and I suppose it was a demonstration of the fact of where both boys had come since then. So, I suppose,
Well, there was the little call-outs as well. Do you remember when Randy was up for contract negotiations and he was big shouting out on Twitter his friend Cody and how well he was doing and all? There's obviously a very good friendship there, which it transcends the business.
Yeah, well, I mean, their dads
which
as
is
well,
good.
You know?
But DiBiase didn't have it with them. You know what I mean? It was like, do we have to be with this guy?
Yeah. You know, like it was kind of, I think legacy was to just give the two boys a rub. Like Orton was already an established world champion at that point. You know, he'd had his big feuds with Cena and stuff. I think they're trying to give the two boys a leg up here, and they kind of thought, well, you know, Orton's a second generation superstar and it worked with him. Like, so who's better to get these two other second generation boys over? But they just didn't. Now, like Cody may go on to eclipse his dad because Orton definitely eclipsed his dad, you know. There's no shadow of a doubt. Like,
there is no hope. I'm gonna call this right now. There is no hope. Now I love Cody. I believe Cody along with Orton, actually. Funnily enough.
different discussion.
is
But come on,
is
let's start
probably
it here.
two of the best in-ring technicians of all time, without a shadow of a doubt. And yeah, Orton has eclipsed, but unfortunately, unless unless Cody gets about 6 or 8 or 10 championships in this run, he ain't eclipsing fucking Dusty.
No, but that's what I think.
Personal opinion for me, he already has.
I think that's what Vince wanted.
100%.
You never liked the fat lads, Jay. Hate you.
That's not true.
Niall was ready for me to continue on a nice tirade there.
Jay, how did we ever become friends? You're disdain for fat lads.
Hey, whoa. One word. Akeem.
I only met him a few weeks ago.
How is
Have
he?
I
Is he
become
doing
the
well?
hot tag now, Niall? I think so.
I've just sent host and duties your way.
I believe it's called a heel turn, bitches.
Yeah, I don't want to skip over too much. The World Heavyweight Championship, he went back in there and it was there for 3 years. You know, some good stuff in there, and then of course we got the Authority, which again is something to skip over. But Jay, up next then is something that I'm sure you're in love with. The Wyatt family. I thought I'd go to Jay on this one.
I'm so glad that
I know, Jay, you're a big fan of all this holographic stuff in the ring and all that and all. So I just
being a traditionalist and all,
The reason I stopped watching films is I'm sick of shit. The reason I kept watching wrestling is because when everything else in the world is fake, that shit is still real to me, baby. And I fucking they had it. Now look.
Jay, can I say something before you actually answer his question? I just want to.
I've already forgot the question.
No, I'll tell you. The funny thing about it is, I've known Jay for longer than Orton's been a thing, and it's actually funny because Jay is like a maniac cop guy. Jay is a fucking the thing guy. Like anything John Carpenter, that's what Jay's about. Jay is about fucking like real shit. So all these holographics and stuff like that. The reason Niall is, I just think this is funny. The fact that so he's a traditionalist, both in movies. Jay's a Rambo guy, for God's sakes. But that's a documentary. To be fair, that's not a movie.
That happened.
Yeah, that's real.
Real.
But I just think that's funny that Niall actually asked you that question. Consider the worms.
I had that one lined up all day. I knew.
This prick has been drinking. Let's see what he says.
Go on, Jay, do it.
What was the question again?
So what did you think about the Wyatt family and Randy Orton?
Let me put it this way: when you've got Rare Calico, right, or Randy Orton, and you're throwing them into stupid fucking matches, like let the boys wrestle. And we all know Bray is going to come back for a second win, and he's going to show the world what he was capable of. And he touched on it very early on in the Wyatt family shit, and then it went into this fucking what are you even going to call it? That this rubber mask debauchery that was the second win in that company. He burning people in the ring, and I'm turning back next week with no bleeding fucking 4th-degree burns on his face. I mean, I was born a ginger. I've come in on the sun more haggard and burned than Randy came back.
I'm blaming that on Kane before we went further. That's all on Kane.
Let's just say he didn't spend much time in the burn unit. He was out the next fucking week.
Is that Wyatt family bit, like with the worms and stuff, is that the worst of Orton in WWE?
Yeah.
Is that the worst part of his career?
But could I say one thing, though,
It was a savage waste of his talent.
Would you agree, though, that he made chicken salad out of chicken shit in terms of his performance and all of that?
I think the story up until they got to that match, like the stuff in the house where he like set the house on fire, it was a bit, over the top. But I think he did the best with what they were giving him. But that match, I don't know what they were thinking. Let's let's put like loads of worms on the ring and that'll scare Randy Orton. Wait, what? Why would that scare Randy Orton? Like, what? Why is Orton scared of some
But see,
holograms?
I would have been okay if they went boogeyman way with the worms.
Yeah.
But the fact that they
Yeah.
projected these worms onto the floor of the ring and that Orton was like
Yeah.
scared to touch the canvas, and I
Yeah.
was there going,
Oh no! If they were
Vince."
real worms, you could be like, okay, this is a bit weird. Like, how's he getting real worms onto onto the
Oh my
ring that I'm
God,
wrestling
no.
in? But like this hologram, and you're just like, I don't like. I think this is probably the worst of Orton's.
Yeah.
Like this is the
But-
worst
but
part
like
of
you
his
said,
career so far. Like,
Ted,
hopefully
like
you'll
you
never anything
said,
worse. But
You said it. He always gives 100% with what he's given.
Yeah.
And what he's given is not his fault. And they lean on him very heavily. And that's the thing about Randy. For whatever you want to criticize him for, whenever the company's in trouble, they lean on him. And he always turns up. He's always there.
I would say
Constant.
that Randy Orton is to the company what Macho Man Randy Savage was to Hulk Hogan.
Why would you say those words?
Well, yeah, because he was the performer, and you know,
It wasn't Hogan.
well, yeah, you know, not more than Macho, obviously, yeah, but I mean, it's on a par.
I kind
You
of
know,
looked at that situation in a different way. I looked at it insofar
put that
as,
tweet into the fucking universe and see if it sticks. It's a fact.
yeah, but I would have looked at that Wyatt situation a different way. That Randy Orton was there long enough to have the stroke to say "fuck off," I'm not doing it, and he wouldn't have been punished too much. But he went through.
No,
it.
but he wanted to try something different, I'm sure. Like, and at the end of the day, man, I think that's where now you see the Randy Orton, the performer. Now,
Yeah,
I think all of
his ring work is without.
Yeah.
doubt. His ring
no,
work.
but I also think it helped his character building in terms of his promos. He doesn't do that stuttering anymore that he used to do. You know, do you remember when he came back after injury, like in Vince McMahon goes, "You got a neck like a stack of dimes, kid," and I was like, "Yeah, he's off the juice." Why did you put him in the ring?
Remember he came back and he transformed himself and he went off real clean cut Randy Orton and came back shaved head with a bit of a fringe and 2 full sets of sleeves. It was crazy. No? Where's everyone go?
Yeah, I was just saying there before. I was just saying, like, if you look at Ted's there, like the picture, the second one in, I was saying that's when I thought he had his absolute best run, his best look, because he was a cocky heel, but a badass. You know what I mean? He wasn't the cocky Shawn Michaels heel or, you know, the cool heel. He was just a badass who looked good. He had that, you know, it looked like he'd just come up from fucking, you know, the swamps of Louisiana and was just literally drinking beer all weekend.
Straight up bad man. Yeah.
Just a bad man, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like drinking whiskey, you know, didn't give a shit. And yeah, man, I mean, for me, just on a, no, for me personally, I believe he's up there. He will, when it's all said and done, he'll be in my top 5. If anyone wants to ever ask me about top workers, he's easily in my top 5 without a shadow of a doubt.
So fucking dependable at being great, isn't he?
He's always good. He's always good.
I mean, when you look even when wrestling was in its darkest hour, and let's call it the no audience fucking year lockdown, darkest hour, the saving grace for me from a grappling professional standpoint was him, whether it was with Edge or whether it was with Drew McIntyre series, wherever you send Randy in, he's worth watching, even if you don't like him.
This was the thing when you mentioned it earlier, Jay, about when his contract was coming up and he was talking about like, oh no, my friend Cody, and they were just starting AEW, and you knew like no one was getting worked that he was off to AEW. Everyone knew Vince isn't letting him go. Vince will throw another 0 on the throw 10 zeros on the end of that. We're not letting him fucking go. He's not going off over there. Get him back.
Why don't we as we finish up,
I love that of him.
Finishing up though, like let's play a little bit.
Before we finishing up, we do have to bring in one something.
Well, I was going to say though, let's play a bit of fantasy booking though.
Well, we can do that, but there's one thing that needs to be said. In the history of the company, who's the man with the most titles in the company?
Well, this is where I was actually going with that, Jake.
Shoot.
That's funny. Yeah, this is where I was going with that actually.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, right, this is a guy who was well capable of being in the picture with the likes of Roman Reigns or with a Brock Lesnar, and able to. I mean, look, he's better than both of them in the ring technically. That's what I'm saying. I mean, in my opinion, he's the modern excellence of execution. That's a fact, without shadow of a doubt. Maybe even surpassed him. You know what I mean? It would be a really cool program to see him in there with the likes of a Roman Reigns, you know, as a babyface even.
That's inevitable.
It is inevitable, and I do think that the company know that they've got another 5 to 10 years of this guy. You're
10 more years, 10 solid years of top shelf Randy before he declines.
I believe so.
I think once he finishes this, whatever they're doing with him and Riddle as RK Bro, I think once they're finished with that, he will go back into that title scene, and he will, like, they're running short on people to face Reigns at the moment, so I think he definitely will be one of the people that steps in there to face Reigns eventually. But
he's in as good a shape as he was, if not better.
Yeah,
and the distance they're keeping between them two is also telling its own tale.
Well,
Genius.
That's the thing. The distance is there, but it's not completely there, because his current feud is tag team titles with the Usos. So they've got him there. He's on the fringes of Roman Reigns' sight, but they're not. There's no interaction between the two of them. Yeah, but there's enough there for you to think Orton Reigns. Like, this is gonna go somewhere.
Inevitable.
Yeah. And
what do you think, Noel, in closing?
Yeah, again, I'm not too sure about that. I wouldn't be upset by it. I'd be quite happy by it, but I don't know. I think the way he's enjoying his wrestling at the moment, and you can see his interaction even with Riddle on camera, that's not really, he's actually enjoying it, and he's giving a little bit away that's actually real, and he's having fun. And I think he might see his role in the company now as being the guy to propel the next level, and that might be the legacy that he wants to leave, more so than the list of titles and all that.
I think he's too much left. He's too much left to be that guy.
I agree, but it depends on whether he wants to be that guy or not. I'm not too sure.
Of course he would.
And you can see the way he's changed as well a lot. Like, you can see he's become the family guy. You look at his own private videos and stuff he puts up and stuff like that. He's having a ball at home. He's kind of working a kind of a reduced schedule. He's not on all these house shows and stuff like that. And he's living it up. He's having a great time. You see him on camera with Riddle. He's barely able to keep it. He's trying to stop himself laughing on camera every single week with Riddle. How those two
unless you saw that thing where he turned on a fan a few months ago, didn't he?
Yeah, but
you're allowed to have a bad day.
Yeah, there's always going to be the old Orton in there sometimes.
That's the real.
But I don't know.
He's loving Riddle. He is. He's absolutely loving it with Riddle.
Well,
you can see it, like, when Riddle hit that RKO, and you could see Orton popping in the background and everything. He is loving this, and he hated Riddle at the start. Like, he said he didn't get it. He said he didn't get the whole, bro thing. He was like, I don't get it. This guy will never get over.
Oh, I do.
And then they stuck him together, and he's like, no, I see it. He's now like, no, I see it. This lad's fucking brilliant. He's loving it. He is.
Two situations with Orange. Remember that time when he was supposed to be off sick or injured, and he was sitting there by the pool, and he was apparently off on holiday, and there was a big massive fucking bong sitting there on the table, and there was like, what? And then America pretty much legalized weed, and now those two were together. And he's also come out and said that Riddle is one of the only guys who can grow his favorite strain that he doesn't have to pay for. I'm adding shit up here, tinfoil hat time. Yeah. It's real easy to like a fella who's going to save you a fortune on your green. I know, because I was that guy for a long time.
But I suppose it's a demonstration of Randy Orton that he's able to win, mesh up with a guy like Riddle and get it over so well, and they love it. And the way, even when you see Riddle fanboying out from him and stuff like that, he's just all over it. Like, you know.
Well, my parting words are, good Lord. Imagine in a time in 2022 where you put two lads together that could legit beat the shit out of the Steiners. I never thought it would happen in my lifetime. There you go. Whoa. Oh, that's a fact.
I'm sure one of them could give it a go. I'm not too sure about Riddle, though.
Riddle can handle himself.
Riddle's a
Can he?
UFC fighter.
Next UFC fighter, Riddle could handle himself all right, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
I mean, you got to be
Okay,
some
no, I
sort of
agree with
crazy to
Jay
be-
though. Yeah, one could probably do it.
I don't know. You got
I
to
think
be.
he can be mouthy as long as he's got Randy behind him.
I don't know. You got to be a little bit crazy to wrestle in wrestle in no shoes when you're doing house shows and everything in
I
a
hate
WWE
that.
as well. There's
You might as
there's
well
got to be
wrestle
something.
naked. I hate that.
I
I
know.
wish he put boots on.
If ever they want to get one of the Von Erichs played, lads, it's Starman is Riddle, but yeah,
Yeah, I suppose I wanted to leave it. I went down through all his accomplishments, and I'm not going to rattle them all off. But the one that stuck out to me at times the most was the Slammy Award for the best hashtag of the year, the hashtag RKO out of nowhere, which is used practically every day out on social media by wrestling fans who hit these RKOs and stuff like that. And I just thought it was
You
a
could
brilliant
also
one.
talk about that. The fact that he's become pop culture
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
of nowhere has become a thing. And his ability, the exquisiteness of his physicality still at this age, in this day, to bust out something so fresh that makes you, after watching wrestling for fucking 30 goddamn years, go, holy shit!
And
Yeah,
creates
he's phenomenal.
creates a pop in the business when it's so difficult to create a pop in the business. Yeah,
The guy's a
Absolutely.
natural.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think Ian mentioned that he was quite similar to Macho Man earlier, and I don't know. Do you remember when he wrestled Rollins at Mania, and they'd practiced that the pop up from the curb stomp, and they couldn't get it when they were practicing, and he said to Rollins, "We're not doing it. I'm not fucking up a Mania match just so we can try that. We're not doing it." And then on the night, Rollins convinced them. He was like, "Come on, do it."
Come
And when it came off, what I loved was it came off, and you could see how happy Randy Orton was that it came off, because he was fucking cheering away in the ring, and then the ref was like, "You still need to pin him there, mate." And he was like, "Oh yeah,
Bullshit!
shit."
Did you see that?
He was like, "Oh yeah, shit. I'll pin him now." But the way he was celebrating and stuff,
Yeah.
it also worked. Like,
Yeah.
Orton's so good at it, it still looked like,
I
yeah,
know.
like,
You know
still
what?
pin him
I
after
know.
that.
Yeah.
And that's a great point you brought up, because I know from being in the ring myself, and I always said to people, don't fucking. Well, but just for me, I can only speak for myself. But one of my favorite things was to not do anything beforehand. Like, I'm not practicing it with you. It's we do it in the ring, and we let the
Spur of the
energy
moment.
create it. Yeah, 100%. I know what you want to do. I know what you want to do at that time. Yeah, that's on a smaller scale. But I get it. Where Randy's coming from. You know what I mean? It's like when you actually just let it happen naturally, and you're fucking, when the energy is in your fucking body and the crowd is there, you're like, okay. Because look, we can all do it on crash mats. You know what I mean?
Also, one of the greatest out of nowheres ever.
Oh,
It was exceptional.
listen, in my opinion, I'm gonna sign off by saying this. I do believe that he is, without a shadow of a doubt, the best of the last. Like, I mean, just all rounder. I'm not talking about money, or I mean, I know we had this conversation on WhatsApp and stuff. Obviously, John Cena and guys like that have.
Never
and
seen
listen,
him.
I look, I fucking love John Cena.
My judgment comes from a different agenda.
Exactly.
let's,
But for
let's
me,
let's just leave it at that.
yeah,
I have portfolios.
Niall's judgment comes from this. You know what I mean? John Cena is putting Niall's kids through college.
Really, he's putting my kid through college.
And he's also put his house through college too.
Let's
Niall doesn't realise that.
Let's just say 18 years later, I'm still hustling with loyalty and respect.
Niall's house has a degree. So
His jacuzzi has a jacuzzi.
He doesn't know yet. He doesn't know yet. But no, I'm just going to say, from where I'm coming from, without a shadow of a doubt, and anyone that knows me, all these Podmen listeners know where I'm coming from. Without a shadow of a doubt, I think he is the best in-ring technical wrestler, without a shadow of a doubt, since the Hitman, and possibly could even surpass him.
He definitely
That's a big statement for me. Everything he does is crisp. He is the excellence of execution. He's just, my God, he's like a fine wine.
He's simply Randy Orton.
Do you know what he is?
Yeah.
He's like Johnny Depp winning a court case and just smiling through it all.
Yeah.
And that's my final.
1 foot in the
That-
past and 1 foot in the future. This business is
Exactly.
nothing without standing on the shoulder of giants. And with Randy Orton, we have a heavy anchor in the past and a positive future.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%.
Can't sum it up any better than that. So this has been 20 years on Randy Orton, and we look forward to at least another 10. His Hall of Fame place is absolutely locked down. There's no doubt about it. Great to be back on the 4 Podmen again and get this going. And we will talk to you again real soon. This is a tune out now. This will be up on the Dynamos Dozen channel in the next couple of days. And we hope you enjoy our look back at Randy Orton's career. Cheers, lads.
Look.